support for the LRT. I had the chance to review interest in the air quality assessment report, which points to the benefits that LRT will bring to local air quality. And I want to add that this must be combined with a real commitment to an enhanced public transportation network as set out in the 10-year transit strategy and full implementation of our cycling master plan and pedestrian mobility plan in order to facilitate modal shifts over time. And these are shifts that are going to further improve urban air quality. Very briefly speak to some of the other core reasons to support LRT that are linked to bigger picture thinking about sustainable approaches to growth and the urgent need to create resilient urban communities in light of the climate crisis. And that's what I was here talking about last week, the climate crisis and how we need to be thinking about that. LRT creates a urban redevelopment and intensification in ways that I would argue our current transit system doesn't. It serves as a catalyst for urban formative community change. You need only look down the road to Kitchener-Waterloo to see how LRT is facilitating urban redevelopment down there. Downtown Kitchener is booming, and it's due in large part to that municipality's commitment to LRT. A fixed line introduces certainty for local employers and developers, and that's something that's really important to think about. We have a fantastic opportunity right now, and you've heard others say this, with full funding from the province to make this line if we walk away from this opportunity. I'm not optimistic about where that would take us. Growth will continue. We're seeing changes happening now without a reliable, efficient, and expanding municipal public transit system. This is going to mean more roadway congestion with no viable or attractive options, and more gridlock and more air pollution. And because the mobility tools aren't there to facilitate smart, efficient intensification, pressures will continue to expand out. Food security, loss of more open spaces and natural areas in rural Hamilton, along with the stormwater attenuation capacity these areas provide. So in short, it'll mean we'll become a less climate resilient community, and it's a bit of a vicious cycle. I think the more we fail to make the more it's only going to further exacerbate and amplify the impacts of climate change. So I want to close today by encouraging all of you to transport yourself long term. Try to imagine Hamilton 10, 20, 30 years from now. What will your ideal Hamilton look like? How will the key decisions that you're making today impact on that ideal vision? And I've been thinking a lot these days about our future Hamilton. And so it's kind of fun. Think about Hamilton 30 years from now. So 30 years from now, I'll be an octogenarian right now, but that's where I'll be. And if things go the way I'm hoping, not only will there be an LRT line, I'll be able to walk, and hopefully I'll still be mobile enough to do that. And even if I'm not, I'm hoping I can get from my home in the Centennial Eastgate area to a Phase 2 LRT. When I get there, I imagine that even if I need a cane or a walker, I'll have an easy time boarding a fully accessible LRT that will enable me to move quickly and efficiently across the city. And who knows, by then I may have opted by then to move closer to the core into affordable senior-friendly housing right along the route. When riding the system, I'm going to find myself surrounded by Hamiltonians of all ages and all walks of life, because an affordable, efficient public transit system will have universal appeal, drawing in new riders who know they can depend on the system to move them around their city, whether it be to school, work, or just to meet up with friends and family. It's a vision like this that, in my humble opinion, needs to become reality if we truly are committed to making and age successfully, ideally over many generations. If we hope to face the climate crisis as a resilient and sustainable community. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Lukasik. Councillor Green.
Thank you very much, Madam Deputy Mayor. Through you to Dr. Lukasik. Dr. Lukasik, in your capacity over the years, how many environmental assessments have you been privy to, aware of, or keeping track of?
Lots and lots of them.
Lots and lots. And so given your experience, I would consider you an expert. I would consider you an expert in this process, having worked with you on other processes locally here. what would be some of the parameters to effectively reject or oppose an environmental assessment application?
I think there would have to be some major concerns about very problematic impacts on the environment.
And so in your opinion, having known this file, do you think that any of those major environmental impacts are present with this particular project?
Through the chair, no. Forward with this proposal.
And so given your time, Madam Deputy Mayor, as a member of Environment Hamilton, and even preceding that, given your history, you will not be opposing this project on environmental terms, but instead you will be supporting it on environmental terms.
Yes, that's correct.
Is there a point in the process for environmental assessments to have letters of support? And if so, has Environment Hamilton and members of the scientific community applied in support of this project?
We haven't provided a formal letter. If you're meaning to the province of Ontario as part of this process, no. But certainly in being here today, we are expressing our support, and we could certainly take that additional step.
Okay.
That wouldn't be an issue for us to do that.
So just in summary, there needs to be a major departure from or a major environmental concern. Environment Hamilton, one of the longest stewards of environmental issues here in Hamilton, does not see a concern, will not be opposing, and in fact will be supporting the environmental application as it relates to LRT. Thank you for that summary and that clarification on the public record.
Thank you. Councillor White.
Doing a lot of reading, and some would argue that 3 years to LRT. So it's more affordable actually to do a ride share in the future. Electric buses, autonomous ride, where you punch your app, get picked up the door, dropped off for less cost than it would cost you for public transit. Is that too far out there?
Through you, Madam Chair, I don't think that's too far out there, but I think those kinds of opportunities are fantastic ways to enhance a fixed line like an LRT. So I would argue that they would be interesting tools moving into the future to help support mobility within the municipality. But again, I would emphasize again the huge value in having a fixed line that becomes like the some of those other further enhance that kind of a core system.
So the challenge I have an LRT system, it's sustainable based on a ridership. And if you don't have a ridership, then it's on the backs of taxpayers of this community in regards to what subsidy level. You know, so right now our conventional system is at 53.47. If you don't have the ridership because you're threatened by these changes in technology that is attracting, they call it the suits, but the people off the ridership of the LRT, because there's then of a dropping ridership on that system.
Establishing a solid development along that route, and we have a solid ridership, we know, along that east-west corridor through the city, and I would fully expect it will continue to grow. Again, hard to predict with some of the changes that you're talking about how that could affect a main line like that 30 years out, but I think based on what we've seen in other urban centers where there are main lines, I think it's safe for us to assume at this point in time that that's the way to go, that it makes sense for us to establish a route like this, to see that redevelopment facilitated along that route in hopefully a very inclusive way, and to move forward with a reliable system with that east-west corridor acting as a spine that a whole network of public transit feeds.
No further speakers, so thank you very much.
Thank you.
The next speaker is David Premy. David Premy from DPAI Architecture, respecting support for the LRT environmental report.